This is the Battle for Normandy. This is the 13th video in the sequence looking at rules for this particular game. We're just going to have a quick run over the special rules for the Allies and the Germans. First one, you've got a battleship withdrawal from June the 30th to July the 5th. You basically roll a dice, a d6, and this will determine if you get a 6, you'll all your battleships will be withdrawn. Your battleships are the ones with the single ship silhouette on them. After the July the 1st, you add 1 to the die roll, etc. July 2nd, add 2. Eventually, they're withdrawn automatically. Same sort of process will go on for the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions. It's pretty much exactly the same. Yeah, so basically you've got to remove, if you do get to a stage where they've removed it, they've all got to go off the map by the end of July 5th night turn at the latest. Other stuff you've got Allied carpet bombing. You've got 2 carpet bombing attacks per game. You've got to declare it to the German player at the beginning of the movement phase, and it's conducted in an Allied AM or PM phase. They can only take place after July the 15th. Carpet bombing, they cost 10 combat supply points from the Allies. You're basically saying you target 10 contiguous hexes at the beginning of the movement phase. Each one must be adjacent to the other. All hexes must be selected prior to moving friendly units and conducting any attacks. During the movement phase for the Allies, everything's normal except the Allied players must roll a d10 for any unit that begins adjacent to a targeted carpet bombing attack. On a 9 or a 0, the unit doesn't move, so it might be subjected to a friendly fire attack. You just resolve the carpet bombing by doing a roll attack against each hex using the armed recon chart with a hit number of 5. German AA and air losses are ignored for these attacks, but terrain is counted. Okay. You've got mulberries, mulberry harbours. You've got your 2 mulberry harbour which are constructed starting from the 7th of June night into intermediate phase. You basically roll for construction on this track here. You just roll a d6 and whatever score you get, you move it up on there. You've got to get to a total of 21 and then your mulberry's built. Once your mulberry's in place, reinforcements, instead of just coming through the one row here, you can come through the main row plus the row to the other side, to the left and to the right. So you've effectively got 3 rows of hexes that can land units from. Okay. Also, you get an additional 10 supply points per day during the weather phase of each night for each mulberry in play. That's a lot. Also remember that all 3 of these hex rows are now considered supply sources. These things just operate as the equivalent of almost like a core, because there are no core units on the board at the start. So I've got them marked as white things, so with marked white cubes which represent a supply source. Mulberry harbours can be damaged. During a storm turn, you must roll for the condition on each mulberry harbour. If damaged, it no longer generates MSPs after receiving the current MSPs. Oh, mulberry supply points. Okay, fair enough. So you've got our Mulberry Harbour damage table here. When it becomes damaged, roll 3d6. If it was under construction, remove that many points from the total on its construction track. Right. If not, you subtract from 21 and you start rebuilding again. Right, that's interesting. I wasn't sure that you could actually rebuild a mulberry. I thought in reality, once they were wrecked, that was the end of them. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Commander and Ranger units, not counted in step losses. Well, they are, because there's a special rule where the Allied commandos and stuff, you do record the step losses, so you can actually recover points from them. You can't with Rangers. The rest of the stuff's really to do with what happens on the first turn, which is not being played in the breakout scenario. There's an optional rule here. Commanders and Ranger battalions provided plus D1 to any attack with strong points or entrenchments. Right. Okay. But it says they also can receive replacements via replacement points, but it costs 2 to replace a step. Okay. Well, I'm currently using a rule. Yeah, that's for recovering steps via losses. Now this one's slightly different. It's getting replacement steps to generate it's getting replacement points. I'll look into that one. Hobart Funnies, apart from the crocodiles, they're all withdrawn. The crocodile tanks, there's 3 of them that's still in the game, and they just carry on in the game until basically if they get attacked on their own, they're gone. The crocodile tanks will give you a +1 DRM against a defending stat that includes infantry. DD tanks, your amphibious tanks, really, after the initial phase for the landings, which isn't in this scenario. They just function as normal tanks. Assault engineering companies, beach assault engineers. Yeah, again, that's really stuff for the first attack wave of the landings. Pegasus Bridge, that's first turn stuff. Rhino tanks. These are something that on the 7th of July, the Allied player receives 6 Rhino units. They land on the beach like any other reinforcements. They have movement but no combat factors. If they're stacked with an attacking Allied armoured unit, they lend +1 die modifier if the attack is into bocage terrain. Ah, right, they were the ones that have like a plough on the front of them that allow them to actually break through the hedges. Okay. They can't be permanently eliminated. If they are destroyed, they actually return to the game at the nearest beachhead on the following turn. Allied motorization. During your replacement step, you get to roll for a number of replacements, but certain rolls will give you a motorization die roll. If you get a motorization die roll, you can pick one of your infantry HQs and turn it over. When you turn it over, it goes onto its motorized side, and then any unit with 6 or less movement factors has that upped by 2. German special rules. The German motorization gets this +2 bonus to movement like the Allied does. Now it's a bit different for the Germans because they actually get like truck markers that go onto the map, and they can move these truck markers around. So you could say make the 352nd motorized and then transfer those trucks to the 719, for example. So it's a little more flexible than the Allied one. Oh, your number of motorization counters is strictly limited to those counters available during the game. Khotan Peninsula supply and replacements for German. Right, we know that Cherbourg acts as a supply source, a general supply source, but once you cut off, Cherbourg's cut off. It has no line of supply to the south or southeast map edges. You start using special replacements and REMs for the and step losses, sorry, for the Khotan. You've got your own markers for that. Right, so that's just the first turn. Camp group and units. During the replacement phase of a night turn, you may get KGHQ units in the map. Right, camp groups, it's like a mini sort of fighting unit that Germans tended to put together, a scratch unit, so it had its own sort of command and control. So you get a little HQ with it. Right, there's some rules on how they're placed. They basically function in all ways as a normal division, except that it may provide supply to 6 units of any friendly division or corps. They may not be used to rebuild units, but they may use replacement steps. Fair enough. We've got the Cherbourg port destruction for the Germans, basically starting on the first night turn. You get, there's a port destruction marker that starts at 9 and it goes, every turn it'll go down 1. Okay, it represents German demolition of the port. It will go down to 0 in the end and the whole place is destroyed. The German victory points, special ones for Cherbourg if it's not captured by a certain date. Allies, they get victory points if it's captured by a certain date. Just in the port repair phase, if the Allies take over, engineering phases after capture, the Allied player may move the port destruction 1 space upwards from 0 at the cost of 5 combat supply points. When it reaches 9, the port becomes partially operational and the Allies receive 5 CSPs per day so long as they continue to hold the port. Okay. German fixed artillery batteries, they're all over the place. They're the ones like this. They can't move. If they're forced to retreat, they're eliminated. They're always in combat supply and they have an inherent ground and attack and defense strength of 1 and considered to be core artillery. They're always in combat supply for the purpose of firing at Allied naval units, even if they're currently out of general supply. When firing on targets on land, they must comply with all the rules for conventional artillery. Got rules for the Pont de Hoc, that's a special landings thing, so forget that, we're not interested in that. German hospitalions, these are units which contain like Soviet prisoners of war who agreed to fight for the Germans. These can never break down to companies or reduce themselves 1 step. Right. Okay. So yeah, you can't break them into companies and you couldn't get reduced down to a company. If it's isolated during the end turn phase after AM PM turns, it will lose a step. So they're not very good, they'll just fall to pieces. Isolated is defined as being unable to trace a line of supply of any length. Okay. There's an optional rule where you can allow German hospitalians to break down to companies. We have to use OST companies. Probably won't bother with that. Okay, after that you've just got additional optional rules. Anything else you want to have a quick look at? Yeah, well, we'll mention strong points. Strong points are like these things here. They've got an inherent combat strength for attack and defense, which is between 1 and 4. They've got stacking value of 1, they have a zone of control. If they're destroyed, they can't be replaced. They have a hidden and revealed state. Now these are on the revealed state. You can see one, there's a hidden one over there. So when a unit gets allied unit gets next to them, you can examine them. So it's a bit of a surprise. The Germans know what they are, but you don't. As an attacking ally, you don't know what they are. Most of them are placed hidden at the beginning of the game unless the scenario rules say different. Forget beaches, that's for the landing. Cherbourg is different. It's got a set of strongholds, but there's a perimeter. You see this red dotted line here? This is the perimeter of the Cherbourg itself. So certain ones have to be placed. They can't be placed in the city hex. Some can be placed right near the city hexes. Some inside the zone, and others have got to be on the outer edge of the zone. Okay. Strong points in combat. You can't move, an allied unit can't move into a strong point hex. It must be destroyed first. They have no effect on friendly units in the hex, but can be combined with them for the purposes of fire combat and ground combat. When a stat loss is applied to a defender containing a strong point, the defender chooses which unit takes the loss. If the strong point is the only unit in the hex, it's removed. Right, defending units in a strong point hex can choose to take a stat loss instead of a retreat in combat. Now that's interesting. Right, strong points and units stacked with them and not required to conduct mandatory attacks. Isolated strong points must roll for elimination at the end of any German combat phase after June the 6th if they cannot trace a line of supply of any length to a friendly unit or other strong point. You know, that's different. If isolated, roll d6. On a roll of 1, strong point is eliminated, and a roll of 2 to 6 has no effect. Okay, that'll do for this rule session.